Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? All right, so today's upload, really quick, two things I want to share. One, it's 3:32 a.m. I literally just got off the phone with a gentleman named Vincent out of Virginia 20 minutes ago. Went upstairs, made some hot tea so I could record this. Vincent is his real name. There is the location I can give you, he shared the exact location with me, but the most I can give you is Russell and Dickinson County, Virginia, an area called Daint, Virginia. Now, when this occurred was 2016 era. Funny thing about that is during that time, he was in his 20s. He's now in his 30s. During this time, it was almost like YouTube's kind of golden age. There was a lot of very interesting stuff on at that time. And it was a nostalgic conversation that we had because there was a lot of urban exploration videos. There was a lot of just exploration. Just channels were not like today's era of these hundreds and hundreds of creepypasta horror channels popping up left and right. This era was, there was some experiences that you heard that you were like, whoa, that you couldn't tell if they were real or if they were a creepypasta. Now, during all of this, he's young and he's an avid YouTube listener. He had found a channel called Corpse Husband. Corpse Husband is a very large YouTuber now, but he was a creepypasta channel. And at that point, there was a lot of channels. It was like the heyday. I started my channel around that time, 2017, but I was listening to, channels trying to hone my skill and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to approach my channel and this and that. I knew I didn't want to be creepypasta. I wanted to be real. Vic Cundiff was a very large channel at that point. and his channel was almost like the pinnacle of Dogman. Dark Waters was just starting out. I think he had like 40,000 subs around this era. But Corpse Husband had this creepypasta, this 3-hour-long creepypasta called I Am a Park Ranger. And here are some of the experiences that I have experienced. And they were so eerie and horrifying that many people were unaware of this being a creepypasta, this being written by an author, because one, the way he had told it, and two, how well written it was. Vincent had heard this experience. He had seen some channels of exploration, ghost hunting, paranormal investigation. And there was a channel that he watched. I don't even remember the name, and he doesn't either. But it was a Japanese guy, and he would go to these haunted locations in Japan and capture some pretty creepy footage. Do we know if it was real or not? No. And it was a very interesting time because it was pre-AI, So it was either real or he had a special effects artist with him, doing some crazy stuff in the back. And that's when he was like, I don't want to start a channel, but look where we live, to his friends. There is a total of like 10 to 15 cemeteries all in this small vicinity in the woods. There are abandoned buildings in the woods in the Appalachia. Let's just start exploring these things. We don't need a camera. One, he couldn't afford a camera at that point. Two, they didn't want to have a YouTube channel. They were just doing this for fun. Young 20-year-old, they would get out of work, meet up with their buddies, smoke a little weed, and go on some sort of exploration. So they decide to kind of explore this area of Russell County, in an area. The closest I will get to giving you the location with his permission is an area called Daint, Virginia. There's another county, it's Erickson County, right next to Russell County. And that's where they would explore. So he had decided one night, him and two of his buddies decided, hey, let's get out, let's take it about an hour's drive. We'll go out towards this area. We'll go out towards Russell County. And we'll start checking out some of these cemeteries. He's like, I know there's one pretty deep in the woods. He's like, I've been to it maybe once, but more than likely there is nothing there now. They drive down this very isolated road after getting out of work. They are not smoking while driving. What they're going to do is they're going to pull over where the entrance to this very desolate cemetery is. He shared it with me on Google Maps and put it this way. I didn't even know I was following a road until, and then the cemetery is so deep in the woods that satellite footage of this area is trees. Even more eerie is that it's like fall time. These pictures were taken like fall time, so it's pretty interesting. They park and decide, hey, let's get out of the car. One of the guys was borrowing his mom's car to get out there. Let's get out of the car, smoke a bone, and go out and check this cemetery out. So there's two friends along with Vincent, and they get out. They sit on the hood of this vehicle, of one of the gentleman's mom's vehicle. Just a big land yacht. He doesn't remember what the vehicle was, but he remembers it being huge. He said it might have been an old, Lincoln town car. But it wasn't squared. It was kind of bubbly like. So they get out and they start smoking, and he's not smoking right now. But his two friends are. He's staring into the cemetery, and he's kind of encouraging his friends to hurry up. You got to see this. You got to see this. All right, so buddies are smoking, and he's antsy. He's been thinking about doing this all day long. His thing is I've got some paper in my pocket. I got some pencil lead or crayon. I'm going to do a couple of headstone rubs, check out the cemetery, see if we can find anything, and go home and just relax. He's thought about this all day. He gets out of the car after telling his buddies, hey, I'm not going to go into the cemetery, but I'm going to get out of the car. I just want to be outside and look around. Out of like the 15 cemeteries that are around, they pick the most rural cemetery in the area. Like, it is one, old, very small, and completely surrounded by woods and just remote to the max. Now, as he's 20 feet from the car, his friends get out of the car. Hang on, we're sorry, let's go in together. They don't realize that there is no animal sounds, but there is the sound of the wind blowing through the trees. Now, they're not outdoorsmen, so they don't recognize this. To this day, he's not an outdoorsman. He enjoys urban exploration or exploration of cemeteries, and it's not even urban exploration. It's abandoned buildings in the most remote area of Virginia. So they proceed to enter this very small cemetery, and he starts to do his headstone rubs. His two buddies are kind of, they're pretty high, and they're walking around. Now, here's the thing. They are from the area, but they are not from this area. They've heard of this area, doing like historical research and such, talking to family members and things, looking for places in the Appalachia that may have the word that he used, and I've only heard it when talking to people that do live in the Appalachia. Haints, which are like ghosts, spirits, evil. So they got the location from a friend, family member, whatnot. And as he's doing a couple of rubs, he's folding them up, putting them in his pocket, because I guess at that time, what he would do is kind of journal what he was doing and put, a couple of the better tombstone rubs in his journal and such. The wind is all that's making noise. But here's the thing. They don't notice that there is no noise. Also, if there is a predator around, unless it is some sort of very powerful demonic force or whatnot, the wind is going to be heard either way. A Dogman walking through the woods, a set of crawlers, whatever, Bigfoot, isn't going to stop the wind. It's going to stop the other animals, but he hears his friend, the one that's driving, say, "Holy shit, it's real, guys, it's real." And Vincent, at this point, realizes two things. One, his friend's voice is a lot further away than what it was a couple of minutes ago. And two, the other friend that had been with the driver of the vehicle is still in the vicinity, because he said he heard, what are you talking about? So he's kind of like, huh. Because these two, even though they're all friends, these two are best friends, the driver and the other guy. Vincent is still very good friends with them during this point, but these two are inseparable. They played high school sports and together. They had a same career choice. So he kind of peeks his head up and he's like, "Hey, where is..." And his friend walks over and he said, "I think he went over there. Remember, this is where there's some sort of old church or building that sits out into the woods just a little past the cemetery. I think that's what he wanted to go and check out." It's not a very big cemetery, so it's not like we're not talking a couple of miles away. It's not even maybe half an acre, a little more than that, but the cemetery is not big. He folds his stuff up and he says, "All right, let's go check this out." He's getting excited now because he's done his tombstone rubs, but now he wants to check out this building. And him and the other guy walk closer to where his friend is, and they yell his name once, and he's like, "I'm right here, come on." They see a light off in the distance, and it's their friend. They do have flashlights with them. How else is he going to see the tombstone rub? They start to walk a little faster because now they have a point of origin where the voice was coming from. And they both get up to where he is, and what is in front of them essentially is a kind of a one-story, almost a one-room building with a kind of three-story steeple in front It's still one story, but where the top part of the steeple would be, maybe 3 stories. Very decrepit looking building. They are all like, yeah, this is awesome. And they walk into the abandoned church. It's an abandoned church. As they walk in, he's looking around. He looks up at the bell chapel there, bell tower, and realizes there's no bell in the tower. Why? How do you think, how did they get it down? What happened? As they go in and they start to look around, the bell's gone. They're like, what the hell? They hear some noises from underneath where their feet are. Almost like there is something brushing along the bottom part of the rafters, whatever the hell you want to call it, under the first floor. There's no second floor. He's confused because he wants to know how they got the bell out of there. The 2 other guys are like, do you hear that? He says something along the lines is, maybe it's a catamount. Panther. Mountain lion. That's the term for them. And one of them says, that's way too big. If you think about how when you initially crawled, when you initially walk up, they could see where the steps would be and how, high up. So it couldn't be it'd have to be something very large for it to rub or make that kind of noise on the floor, underneath the floorboards. And one of them stomps his foot, and it echoes in this old, decrepit building. And then they hear another stomp or hit from underneath. And when whatever this was had hit this area, it jostled them. So they've already heard kind of like a brushing, like if something had kind of rubbed against the bottom of the floor. A thump. They're talking amongst themselves like, what if... One of the statements was, if there's a basement, what if there's a still down there? We're, they're doing something illegal. We're trespassing. Not on their property, but on, but what if they take it like we are trespassing and that we are trying to steal something or whatever? Vincent, unbeknownst to his friends, very quick succession, thump, thump, and then thump, right from back underneath, like almost a reply. So Vincent just gives it 2 quick ones, and then a very kind of massive thump, louder than the first one. And then they hear more scuffling. And it's almost like hair, like how a hair would move underneath like a piece of wood or whatever. They're shining their flashlights all around back towards the door, looking around. And they hear this movement going further away. So they kind of shine their lights and they see windows at the back of the church. Now, the back of the church would be where the priest would stand, or the pastor, or whatever, the pulpit. They get up there to see, hey, maybe this thing's trying to run away from us. It may just be a wild animal. They're going to say, we can see it, da-da-da. So the friend, not the driver, but the other, starts to walk away as Vincent and the driver are talking. And he says, hey, look, guys, what's this? And they walk over with him quick. And there's about 1.5 foot in diameter hole. Very jagged hole. Not a circular cutout, but... And he's standing over it. And he's looking down into it. And they hear that shuffling. But it sounds like it's over here on the other side of the church. He kind of gets down on his hands and knees. And as he starts to put his head closer to the hole, Vincent and the driver both are like, don't do that. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'll be fine. It's just a little hole. And he puts his head down, and as he starts to, he obviously is like, the hole isn't big enough for him to fit through, but he's going to try to, peek and see if there is a basement. He's got his head probably a foot above it, and he starts to go lower because they can hear that scuffling off to the side. And all of a sudden, as his head is getting lower, very quickly, this large hand comes up and grabs the back of his head and pulls down, and then another one comes up and grabs the back of his head and pulls. And they lose sight of those arms. They lose sight of both arms and his head. And he's already now flipped up, and he's screaming. And as he's screaming, they hear movement, this very quick, that shuffling that was over here, they hear it very quickly, moving toward where his friend, and they're screaming, what the fuck, get your head out. They're pulling on him. And they hear this loud snap. And he stops screaming. And as they pull up, it must have let go of their friend. And they whip him up. And when he flies back out, his neck goes just flops like a fish. And they lay him on the ground. They're talking to him. He is unresponsive. And Vincent is standing, and he peeks in, away from it, enough to peek in. And he sees 2 red eyes staring up at him. To this day, he swears to God that whatever was there, whatever it was, it smiled at him. And then turned its head and was going back towards whatever, to the back of the church. The driver, this is his best friend. Vincent and the best friend and the driver all have been, they grew up together, but like I said, the driver and the other guy are, two peas in a pod. They are brothers practically, Vincent runs back to the windows and he looks out and he sees, what he sees is this odd shaped quadruped kind of run out, very sparse hair from what he can see. And it turns and stands, like from quadruped to turning to stand on its back legs in seconds, very quickly. And looks right at Vincent. And then drops back down to all fours and runs into the woods. They very quickly grab their friend and carry him out of that church. And they're now in the middle of the cemetery, very in close proximity to where he was, last seen. They get him out. They get him to the car. He's not breathing. His neck, as they're carrying him, his neck is flopped. Vincent goes, help put him on my back. We'll get there faster. Get the car going. Let's go. Vincent gets him up on his back. The car's started. The back door's open. He puts him in the back door, lays him down, and they peel out. As they're peeling out, they hear a howl, very loud howl. And they've got a couple of miles distance before they can even get out of the woods area. As they get to an intersection of country dirt roads and there's one of these creatures that he just saw standing in front of the car trying to leave. Like, it's standing, like, you're not getting through. You're either going to hit me or, you. So the driver is upset. His friend's gone. Gives it gas and hits this thing. It doesn't even... He thinks that quite possibly it didn't think, almost like Men's Health and Fitness or what. He doesn't think that this thing is gonna, it's huge. It's huge. It's like, it looks like it's a bodybuilder. It looks like it belongs in like Men's Health and Fitness. It's fucking huge. Bam, hits it. And it hits the front of the car and bounces back. And they drive off. They get out of the area. They drove 20-30 minutes. They're trying to head to a hospital. They pull into a hospital area. Vincent runs in for help. As he's getting help, the ambulance driver is, getting his friend out. They come and get the kid. As they're coming back, the driver's looking at the front of his car. The hospital people, because they see him looking at the car, say, "Did you guys hit your friend by accident? Like, what's going on? Because there's some damage to the front of his car." And he's like, no, we didn't hit him. Like, whatever happened, he must have fallen. Like, they can't say, hey, he was looking, we were at this abandoned cemetery, abandoned building by the cemetery and something just reached up and grabbed him. No. During all this, there's not a bunch of, but there is like 4 or 5 unsolved cases of people dying in this area at this point in time. Not now, but at that point in time back then. They lost contact, the driver and Vincent. Vincent went to the funeral and, Dad was there. It just... They had a friend that they called Dead. He was a deadhead. He's the one that told them about this cemetery. Vincent goes and talks to him and tells him what happened that night. And he starts talking about like Native American lore, shamans that can shapeshift, not skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are Navajo, but there are shapeshifting shaman in many different Native American lore. So tells them that it's a shapeshifter, and if you're going to defeat it, do whatever. It's just, he knew more than what he was letting on. And what Vincent gathered out of it was, it was almost like he was passing off the buck. Like, hey, it's a Native American shapeshifter. Find a guy and, maybe the curse will be broken. Who knows? Because the hippie guy is just, he doesn't know. He's just going off of what he's heard too. During all this, like I said, there's like 4 or 5 strange deaths in this area. Unexplained. So, anyway, I can't imagine, seeing your friend just, and you guys pulling on him and helping him up, and it's pretty crazy. Virginia, hotspot, 5-state hotspot on the map. And there's multiple cemeteries in this area, multiple abandoned. He had said that at one point they were planning a trip. There was an abandoned village or slave village from the 1800s with another old church, like 15 houses, small kind of ramshackle houses, but nonetheless it was a kind of a slave village, and they're planning that trip, and it's just sad, very sad. It was a Dogman. 100%. He thinks it was a Dogman. He doesn't believe their friend, the hippie guy, that it was some sort of shapeshifter. But they had heard quite possibly that there had been occult practices at that slave village, the old slave village from the 1850s. So he still believes that it was a Dogman, but there's still a lot of weird stuff up there. Things that are not explained. How does a whole village just disappear one day? Anyway, with that, I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. And Vincent, really, like, this poor guy. I hate stories when people, lose a friend, a family member. But the way he passed was just so tragic. And going about sharing this experience with you as I'm exhausted, but two, I'm getting cold chills on my spine telling you this because it's so goddamn creepy. An abandoned slave village from the 1800s with occult practices going on there, possibly. All right. Well, once again, guys, thank you for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps the channel growing and going. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. Keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.